Hi there, Nick from Mindset. In this video blog we'll be looking at the pre-event run-up stage, which is called pre-production. So, pre-production, what's it all about? Now before I start, the term pre-production, it just means all the work and the preparation that goes into the event before you go on site. I just wanted to clear that up because not everyone has heard of the term before. So the contract has been awarded, the first production meeting has taken place, and everything in the proposal is fully agreed by all parties. Now the fun starts. Now because the event takes place on a certain date, the clock quite literally starts ticking. Time is very much the producer's worst enemy. It's fair to say that a lot of events have decent lead times, but more and more these seem to be getting cut. And if you look at this list of elements behind me showing all the things needing to be completed during the pre-production stages, you can imagine just the vast amount of time that's often required to make it all happen. And by the way, this is by no means an exhaustive list. There are many other things that can go onto it. There's a couple of tips here. You know the critical path that gets issued? Do read it. It's a well thought out and a carefully planned document, and it's massively useful to show you just how much or how little time there is in which to do things. As a producer, you expect some changes along the way. Of course you do, but let's look at the things that can potentially cause some really quite severe problems. Now the first one is missed deadlines. Listen, we all know just how busy our clients are. After all, they've got a business to run. But the problem is that deadlines being missed, it just has such a knock-on effect. Combine these with the second thing that causes problems, which is excessive changes. As you'd imagine, changes to the core brief is the biggest problem as it throws absolutely everything into chaos. But equally, excessive changes to individual presentations can really pose big problems. Now we do expect the odd figure to be updated or perhaps the tone of a presentation to be tweaked a few days before the event, but sometimes continual tinkering and tweaking can be really disruptive to the overall conference, not just that individual presentation. Remember, the producer is there to produce the entire event, not just one presentation. Having a great, brilliant new idea in the latter stages of pre-production might seem wonderful at the time, but just stop and think about whether it's that good an idea to risk the entire production itself. Both missed deadlines and excessive changes quite simply mean one of two things. Either additional people need brought onto the production team, costing the client, not us, more money, or alternatively, there just may not be the physical time left to make all the changes. Now this is especially true with things like last minute changes to videos, the design of the stage set, or other elements of pre-production requiring studio time to be booked, for instance. The reason for potential chaos ensuing is because the people that go into making the production actually happen. You know, the designers, technicians, carpenters, film crew, production managers, etc. They themselves have busy diaries. And often they can't shift their time around, losing a day of work here and moving it, let's say, to 24 hours later. So hopefully you can see why pre-production absolutely has to stick to the critical path issued. If not, it usually means a lot of rush charges and potentially having people working on the job at the 11th hour that have no prior knowledge of the project. Here's another couple of tips. As a committee, agree on the brief and the rough content early on and stick with your decision. Don't change the brief. Set presenters realistic timescales to get their draft presentations in. Look at the presentations all together and make sure they flow from one to the other without repetition. And finally, get tough if people miss deadlines. Maybe threaten to take any additional cost out of their department's budget. That usually sharpens people's mind. Anyway, hope you got some useful tips from this vlog, and I'll see you again in the next episode where I'll be talking about the pressures and realities of the rehearsal schedule.